Who's winning? And who's up shit creek without a paddle? This is your stop for unbiased election projections with BS free talk, analysis, and one cranky politico's insight into the very future of the world you live in. Broadcasting from the gateway to the motherlode in Waterford, California. This is the Election Recon Podcast. And now, he's carpet-bombing partisan zealots back to the Stone Age by delivering cold, hard reality to the fanatics first class. Your host, Army veteran, political operative, and election junkie, Josh Whitfield.
And welcome to episode 12 of the Election Recon Podcast. It is Thursday, October the 20th, and Alyssa, here at the Oasis of Reality, we're celebrating because we are just under 19 days away from Election Day, and still it seems way too far. It's like that part of the marathon, Alyssa, where you've run this huge marathon, 20-mile marathon, and you're in the last half mile, and you're like, you still have it in your mind, like, damn, I'm ready to quit.
Mm-hmm. We're close.
Like, the finish line's there, but you're just like, God, this has been the worst marathon ever. It's like raining. People are driving by, splashing puddles at you.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
I don't like it. Well, everyone, welcome to the Oasis of Reality. We have yet another huge election update for you. Big shifts in the polling, all in the favor of the Republican Party. We're going to go over that here in just a minute in the election update. We're going to forego, once again, an interview segment. We will have an interview segment next week, but in the interest of time, because there are so many election updates to go through because we've had such a polling dump in the last 10 to 14 days, especially this week, we want to first and foremost give you an update on the election. In today's show, in the Grunt's perspective, I'm finally going to opine my opinion on 3 racist, and yes, folks, I said racist, unquestionably racist city council members from the city of Los Angeles. Here's a little preview, Alyssa, a story probably you're not following. 3 Hispanic LA council members making a racist comment against a young black boy from a parade back during the redistricting fight. Raw audio was leaked 2 weeks ago on it. Massive controversy in the city of Los Angeles. And it's an adopted little black boy from a gay white couple. Mm-hmm. And boy, has it rocked the boat in LA, as it should. Obviously I have some irritation because I don't pick anything that doesn't irritate me for the Grunt's Perspective segment. But I have some praise to give out to some Democrats as well. And we're going to go over that in the Grunt's Perspective. And of course, your questions answered in the 3-pointer segment. Alyssa, how's your week been?
Long. They just keep getting longer. Hopefully after the election, it's holiday season. It'll be better. But right now, hell.
Except for you and I have to coach girls basketball. Which just starts right when the election ends. Just because the gods hate us.
Mm-hmm.
The basketball gods and the political gods. They're conspiring to stress us out. Mm-hmm. My last year coaching, Alyssa, it's the last dance for me.
Oh, wow.
Can I go? Can I do 10 seasons in a row with a winning record, do you think?
Let's hope so. You can't end it on a losing record.
Oh, man. I'm putting it up for grabs before I pass it off to you, the younger generation, to keep it moving forward. I digress. Let's go ahead and go into the election snapshot, Alyssa. First and foremost, let's take a look at where our projections stand. Lots of movement in our model this week. We're starting to get early voting data. Republicans and Democrats both have been dumping money everywhere. But here's the story, and we follow the money. And at this point in the election, Alyssa, I tell folks, don't just follow the polling per se, but follow the money. And especially since we have this drought of public polls for congressional seats, because the media are cowards. And they got it so wrong in 16 and 20 that I just think they're just terrified of releasing public congressional polls. And those that we have seen have not been very high confidence. So for lack of public polling in congressional seats, everyone keeps asking me, well, hey, how are we supposed to tell who's winning and who's losing on this thing? And I say follow the money. And here's where the money is showing. Republicans are dumping money in seats that no one believes is competitive in the mainstream media. And Democrats are pouring money into seats that no one thinks they should really have to work hard to defend. What picture does that paint? Internally, the Republican Party believes it can expand the map, and internally, the Democratic Party believes they're in real trouble. Otherwise, they wouldn't waste millions of dollars. And we're seeing millions of dollars being sent by the DCCC now, defending House seats in particular for Democrats who really shouldn't be in trouble. But we've always suspected here at Election Recon that they were. And now you just have to follow the money. And right now, how both parties are spending, both in the Senate and in the House, but more so for the House, is proof positive that the Democratic Party is on defense. Again, this is not partisan. These are just facts on where the money's going. Early vote, underwhelming so far, and it's way too early to take it seriously, but so far in the early vote across the country, underwhelming for Democrats where that is their strength. In Florida alone, and remember, Republicans won by fairly significant margins in 2020. Republicans already doubling their performance almost in the early vote in Florida. In California, there's a 4 to 6 point swing towards Republicans in the early vote. Now, this is all subjective stuff. Everyone, I don't take the early vote super serious because voting behavior can be weird. You know, Democrats who are disenfranchised and depressed right now, they may just be holding on to their ballots for an extra week or two or whatever. But every sign that we have, Democrats who keep writing in accusing me of partisan zealotry, okay, if all the signs, if all the winds were blowing towards the Democrats like 2018, I'd be here saying the same thing about Republican chances like I'm talking about Democrat chances this year. But by every metric, the momentum is in the Republicans' favor. That's fact. Polling, money. Republicans are generally winning their debates. And a lot of Democrats are refusing to debate Republicans, including right here in California, Central Valley, where now we've seen 2 Democrats not show up, just completely not show up, announcing hours before a debate starts, a televised debate, by the way, down in Kern County. 2 Democrats, Hurtado from the state Senate in California and Rudy Salas, who's running against David Valadao in the 22nd Congressional District, just didn't show up to their debates. Why? Because they know what we know. And as we look at polling, crime and inflation are the number 2 and number 1 issues, respectively, across the country. And Democrats what are they going to say?
Nothing.
What are they going to say? They're in power. It's tough. And I understand why their campaigns are making the decision not to debate, because it's a lose-lose for a lot of these Democrats. I understand the strategy behind it. But at the same time, and in California, you probably can get away with it. But we talked about not debating last week in the Grunt's perspective. In a state like Arizona, that's going to come back to haunt you. For sure. So it's very interesting, and we're just looking at the strategies, the momentum everywhere. And it's not just our models. We'll show you in a minute. There's been movement to Republicans everywhere, including the much vaunted by the right 538 and the much beloved by the left 538. Okay, so let's go ahead and go into the election, taking a look at our projections. Our model updated yesterday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Republicans in our model now 61% chance to control the Senate. We have had a flip, Alyssa, in the Senate, and we will go ahead and put that up on the screen for those of you watching on YouTube now. That was in the state of Arizona, one that Republicans have been bashing us over the head on. But the model has finally flipped Arizona now from tilt Democrat to tilt Republican. Blake Masters, the Republican candidate, over Mark Kelly, the Democrat incumbent in the state of Arizona. There's another pickup for Republicans. So even with Georgia heading to a runoff, our model now projecting 52 seats or 2 additional seats for the Republican Party. And that's why our model now has it at 61% chance. But folks should realize we have half a dozen of these Senate seats that are within the tilt margin. So still very competitive. It's not quite 50-50 anymore in our model. Republicans now have a slight edge and a slight advantage. But let's be clear, 4 and 10 times in our model, Democrats are still holding on to control of the Senate. 6 and 10 times in our model, Republicans take control. In the House of Representatives, 3 pickups for Republicans this week. First, we'll show you on the screen the Texas 34th. This got some folks fired up on the social media, especially from the left. But our model has Mayra Flores, an American First, MAGA, Latino Republican candidate out of the Texas 34th. Her seat, she won a special election this year, surprising special election that most people thought she was going to lose. It's one of the rare special election victories for Republicans in the special election or primary season. Her seat got drawn into Vicente Gonzalez's seat. So you have 2 incumbents running for the same seat. So you have Vicente Gonzalez, the Democrat, Mayra Flores, the Republican. For the first time in our model, Flores leads Gonzalez. Pennsylvania 17th now, from tilt Democrat to tilt Republican. Jeremy Schaefer, the Republican candidate, out of the 17th, now on top of Chris DeLuzio. This is an open seat, no incumbents. And the last flip in our model this week, Michigan 3rd, from tilt Democrat to tilt Republican. This was Peter Mayer's seat, a moderate Republican who got primaried by John Gibbs, a Republican candidate, largely because Mayer voted to impeach Donald Trump. He's one of the 9 Republican House members to vote to impeach Donald Trump. He was primaried out, and John Gibbs has taken over. A lot of folks didn't think this seat was going to be in play, but for the whole general election season, this has just been slowly ever more tilting to Republicans. Finally, John Gibbs, largely based off where the generic ballot now is, on top of Hillary, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Hillary Slotin, out of the Michigan 3rd. Again, this is an open seat because the incumbent was primaried earlier this year. Let's go ahead and quickly take a look at the non-flip race rating changes this week. A whole mess of them again. This is, again, why we're foregoing the interview segment. We have, in the Republicans' favor, Michigan governor going from lean Democrat to tilt Democrat. Connecticut Senate, safe Democrat to likely Democrat. Oregon 6, lean Democrat to tilt Democrat. The California 9th, that's Josh Harder and Tom Patty right here at home, Alyssa, lean Democrat to tilt Democrat. California 40th, lean Republican to likely Republican. That's an Orange County seat. California 45th, tilt Republican to lean Republican. That's a South LA, North San Diego seat. And also kind of South LA, North San Diego. California 49, lean Democrat to tilt Democrat. Michigan 10th, tilt Republican to lean Republican. Georgia 2nd, likely Democrat to lean Democrat. Virginia 10th, safe Democrat to likely Democrat. Pennsylvania 6th, likely Democrat to lean Democrat. Pennsylvania 12th, safe Democrat to likely Democrat. And again, the Connecticut 2nd, as we were talking before, on the Senate race, one of the congressional seats in Connecticut, now likely Democrat to lean Democrat. Connecticut, folks, being a pretty dependable Democratic stronghold. So Democrats showing weakness even in areas that they really shouldn't be. We're not saying they're going to lose these seats. We're just saying these races are closer than they should be, which is reflective of why the Republicans have the advantage in the true battleground seats across the country. Three movements in the Democrats' favor this week. Oklahoma governor, likely GOP to lean GOP. The Republican and governor of Oklahoma in deep trouble there. This could be a weird scenario where Oklahoma goes red across the board except for the governorship. The Democrat running awfully strong now in our model there. Iowa Senate, safe Republican to likely Republican. That's largely based off a Des Moines Register poll that has been very accurate historically for the state of Iowa, showing incumbent Republican Senator Grassley in deep trouble in a tight race, which is surprising to all of us. But when your poll's been that historically accurate, we weight it pretty heavily, especially for the state of Iowa. We have to take that seriously. So that's why the move there. And then Minnesota 1st Congressional District, safe Republican to likely Republican. So a lot of changes this week. But before I forget, Alyssa, I forgot the cigar of the day.
I was going to remind you.
Cigar of the day, Rocky Patel Sun-Grown Maduro. Great smoke, one of my favorites. So still going through all those Rocky Patels from that special event. So Alyssa, Republicans now on 22 seats, gaining in our model. It's the highest they've ever been there, both the Senate and the House. And then the Republicans still on gaining 2 seats in the governor's races. You can look at our top 10, bottom 10 polls. Not a whole lot of change. Won't be a whole lot of change now to these numbers until this election is over and we can reevaluate where the pollsters stand. But in the bottom 10, we made our first decision ever this week. We've banned a pollster. First time we've ever banned a pollster. But Center Street PAC put out this ridiculous congressional poll. We've been suspect on their polling all year long. They're really kind of a Democrat front machine. They call themselves nonpartisan political action committee, but they're pretty partisan. They have some like never Trumper Republican support, but for the most part, they're supporting Democrats over Republicans, and their polling is atrocious. We're not going to go on here and say that we know for certain that they're faking or their polls. We don't know for certain, but what we do know for certain is everything they're doing in their polling, the data that they're releasing, Center Street PAC, just not going to be in our model. We have zero confidence that those polls are accurate, let alone legitimate. And we'll leave it at that. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Real Clear Politics generic ballot aggregate. Republicans, now remember, 1 month ago today, Alyssa, for those of you watching on the screen, 1 month ago today, the Democrats had a 1.3% advantage in the generic ballot. 30 days later, Republicans 3.3 advantage. That's a 4.6 point swing towards Republicans. It's a legitimate swing. And now the summer noise has gone away. The facade that Dobbs shifted the electorate has gone away. And because, listen, late breaking and undecided voters are breaking for the party out of power because they're upset. This is not rocket science. This is not rocket science. The undecided voters are more apt to break to the party out of power when times are bad. And nobody agrees that inflation or the economy or the stock market, nothing with the economy is good in the voters' minds.
Nope.
And right behind that is crime.
Mm-hmm.
1-2 issues dominating. Abortion has climbed its way 4th or 5th but that's largely being buoyed by Democrats. Mm-hmm. No independents and no Republicans take that issue seriously. And for the Democrats, the problem is not that Republicans don't take abortion seriously. It's that the independents are not taking it seriously. Mm-hmm. And so you're starting to see even like Congressman Clyburn came out today, and Bernie Sanders has come out this week, starting to see Democrats really chastise those who put all their eggs in the basket, per se, in leadership on the abortion issue to try to flip the election. And they're right. They're right to criticize that. And I'm not saying that abortion is not an important debate or issue in the country, Alyssa, but people are hurting right now. We've said it week in and week out. And the Democratic Party used to kind of be the voice of the working class family, and they've really lost that. Mm-hmm. And I think that working class family is a free agent now. And Republicans are telling them things that they feel better about when it comes to the economy and inflation and crime. than the Democratic Party is. And that's why we're seeing such a shift. So most recent polls that have come out, Monmouth, highly rated poll for us. They're in the top 10. Republicans +6. That's a registered voter poll. I don't know how much confidence we have in that poll because it's only 756 registered voters. Kind of a small sample size for a national test. We like to be between 1 and 2,000. CNBC, another registered voter poll, +2. You guys know how we feel about registered voter polls here. We don't like them. Likely voter screens should be put in. Economist YouGov, likely voters. They have, this is how bad it is for Democrats. This has been one of the polls that have been holding the Democrats' summer advantage, what I think has largely been a blue mirage in the generic ballot, and they now have it Republicans +1. Politico, Morning Consult, probably the one poll that I just bang my head against the wall every week when they drop. Democrats +1, registered voter poll. And they have CBS, Republicans +2, Harvard University, Republicans +6, Trafalgar, Republicans +5, Rasmussen Reports, Republicans +7, New York Times and Siena College, no bastion of conservatism there, Republicans +4, Fox News, Republicans +1. Those are all likely voter polls. So bad news bears for the Democratic Party, because if this electorate really is going to be a Republican 3 to +5, or even worse, even greater, we're talking about a wipeout of Democrats greater than our model's predicting for sure, probably at twice the size in the House. So Republicans can probably start seriously talking about 35, 40, 45 seats. Wow. It's really on the edge. So our model doesn't believe that yet, but our model's at 22 seats, and it has been growing exponentially over the last month, reflective of the generic ballot switch as well. Taking a look at President Biden's approval rating, remember I said last week, Alyssa, I didn't think that he would stay under double-digit negativity. He did not. As more polling has come out, it has been increasingly worse for him all week long. President Biden now 11.6 points underwater, 54.3% disapprove in the average, 42.7% approve. Last three polls, Monmouth, -16 for the president. Reuters, -14 for the president. Rasmussen Reports, -11. Economist YouGov, who once had it last week as a 1 point negative for the president, now -8, correcting some outlier polling there. So let's go to 538. Again, I told everyone at the start of the show, it's not just our model. 538. Remember how it was like 2/3, 1/3? Now have Republicans 41% chance to take the Senate, Democrats 59% chance. So they're closing in on. Our models are kind of reversed in terms of the odds, but pretty much they're saying there's a slight advantage to the Democrats for the Senate. We're saying there's a slight advantage to the Republicans, but the underlying theme here is strong movement to the Republican Party in the last week. So 41 and 59. What I'm happy about, Alyssa, is they finally, barely, I don't know how, but barely they have Adam Laxalt up in Nevada, which I think is just really running away now from the Democratic Party. So we still have strong disagreements. Again, we flipped Arizona this week. They say Blake Masters only has a 23% chance of winning there. Last week we flipped Pennsylvania. While that race has tightened for 538, they're still saying that it's about a 2/3 chance for Fetterman and a 1/3 chance for Oz there. So we still have some disagreements, but at least our models are both moving in the same direction. For the House forecast, Republicans now 79% chance to win. Pretty significant increase in the House model for 538, probably because their generic ballot, even though they weight the Democratic polls more heavier than the Republican polls, Republicans now just over 0.1% in the 538 generic ballot. So that's probably adjusted their House model, we believe. So strong movement again towards the Republicans in the 538 model. And now we go to Big Data Poll, who has updated their generic ballot through the Public Polling Project. Significant increase for the Republicans. Last time it was in September. They had about a 1.3% advantage to the Republican Party. Today, 5.1% for the Republican Party. So pretty parallel movement from RCP and Big Data Poll across the board in terms of how many points it has moved within the last 30 days, if that makes sense. So, and every model, it's moving towards the Republicans. There's no question Republicans have the big mo. No question about that. Let's take a look at the election recon scoreboard. Alyssa, we now have 52 seats projected for the Republican Party, 47 for the Democrats. In the U.S. House, 235 seats for Republicans, 200 for the Democrats. And for governor's mansions, 30 for the Republicans, 20 for the Democrats. State legislatures, again, no change. We have 32 upper chambers for the GOP, 18 for the Dems, lower chambers, 33 for the GOP, and 16 for the Dems. So, lots of movement to the Republicans, as I said. Not a lot of good news here for the Democrats, but again, it's not partisan. It is the way it is. Mm-hmm. Those are just the facts. That's the way the election's going. I don't know what else to say. Again, we're not trying to pick on Democrats or make them, attack your Democrat self-esteem out there, Democrats. It's just this election always was going to be about. This election was always going to be a referendum on the party in power. Every midterm election is. And it was never going to be about Donald Trump or January 6th or Dobbs v. Jackson. It just wasn't. It was always going to be about the economy and crime and inflation. Like we've been saying since the first episode, quality of life, cost of living, safe kids. That's what's on folks' minds. And the Democrat candidates who have been focusing on those issues, district to district, are performing way better than those Democratic candidates who have been focusing on ideological issues like Dobbs v. Jackson, January 6th, and bad spray tan man with the weird hair. Okay. The guy's been out of power for 2 years. Voters don't care. They don't want to hear about Donald Trump anymore. They're tuned out. They're fatigued by it. They've had it for 6 years. Okay. It was always going to be beating a dead horse. And so I don't really feel like the Republican Party's done a great job messaging and marketing nationally in this election. I think they've been disorganized and discombobulated. That being said, the Democrats threw all their eggs in the basket on abortion and Donald Trump. It's just not a really good platform to spring off of. Just not. So, the electorate wants to know how you're going to fix, which was largely induced economic woes by Democrat COVID policy in this country. And I'm not getting in the COVID debate. I'm just saying the restrictions that were put in place by COVID have a direct effect to today's economy. Mm-hmm. Everyone can agree on that. And the Democrats would have been much better served in this election, especially with the middle of America who's going to decide who's in power, of saying, okay, yes, we realized that this happened. We believed we had to do this to save lives and whatever, COVID policy. And here's how we're going to get everyone back on their feet. They have been terrible because they've been caught up in the wokeism, progressive left, abortion, and Donald Trump's a bad guy argument. Mm-hmm. Which the country's heard for 6 years. On abortion, it's been a fight since Roe was first decided, all the way to Dobbs. I don't want to say being repealed because Roe wasn't repealed by the court. It was just sent back to the states. So that's where it's at. Those are just the facts driving the election, folks. Again, I know that sounds very partisan, and I understand that, but I'm just reporting on the facts. That's where the electorate is, and it's why the Democrats are losing this election. And if they lose in 3 weeks, it's going to be because of those reasons, that they focused on the wrong things in a time of crisis for the country. Thoughts?
I think that Democrats found one thing that gained traction on in the beginning, and they just keep focusing on that, and that's not helping them at all. At some point, Donald Trump's effect is gone. We can't keep blaming him for what's happening right now. At some point, you got to take responsibility, and it's never their fault.
Yeah, and I think both parties are guilty of that.
Yeah.
When Republicans are in power, excuses. When Democrats are in power, excuses. Problem is we have a two-party system in this country. And, I think the voters are content with swinging the pendulum. I think the voters are okay, well, we gave the Democrats some time. They fucked it up. Let's give it back to the Republicans, see if they can figure it out.
Then they ruin it, and then they switch back.
Right, it really kind of feels how it is in this country. So, Republicans are doing a lot of rejoicing right now, but my thing is like, okay, Republicans, you're going to take the Senate and the House,
For how long? Rejoice for now, but
right? You better actually fucking govern.
Mhm.
Like that would be the time to govern. Don't just be in there being a pain in the ass to Joe Biden. I mean, certainly, if Republicans take control, when Republicans take control of the House at this point, it's a win, not an if.
Mhm.
When Republicans take control of at least one chamber of Congress, Joe Biden's progressive agenda over. Guaranteed. It's done. If Republicans take control of both chambers, the President of the United States, Joe Biden, would be wise to immediately drive to the middle like Bill Clinton in the 90s and start working with this Republican Congress. Because I got to be honest with you, I'm not one of these people that wish death on the president or whatever, but man, there's some serious health questions with the guy.
Mhm.
He may only have 2 years left. His own party may primary him because he's that unpopular with the country. So hopefully, God willing, we may have 2 years if Republicans take control. We have divided government once again of negotiation and actual governance because the country needs it bad.
Mhm.
The country needs its elected legislatures to do their jobs because we're in a world of hurt. So that being said, Alyssa, we're going to go to the Grunt's perspective this week. On the Grunt's perspective, Alyssa, about 2 weeks ago, 3 sitting LA City Council members, all Latino, got caught being racist. And racist as you know what. Against a innocent little black boy. Because he's adopted by white parents. And this has created a huge problem in LA. A Democratic stronghold. It's not this isn't Republicans on Republicans here, Alyssa. This is Democrats on Democrats.
Interesting.
This little boy, adopted by 2 white men. And Alyssa, because of redistricting and power struggles and elitism and entitlement, and honestly just being terrible human beings, you have 3 sitting city council members conspiring while they're being racist to this little boy on screwing a fellow city council member in order to redistrict certain things that they want in their own districts for power and control.
Of course.
So it's not just racism, it's corruption. It's corruption. It's corruption.
Mhm.
The 3 council members, Councilmember Martinez, who was the president, she has since resigned. You're going to see some news clips here in a minute. What would indicate she hadn't resigned when these news stories went off, but she, at first, when they got caught, no statement from the 2 men. De Leon, former member of the California State Legislature, by the way, a former Democrat leader in the state legislature, by the way, and Cedillo, Councilmember Cedillo. 2 men went silent. Martinez, who was the city council president, resigned her role as president almost immediately, but didn't resign her position on the city council. Before I get into this, I want to praise multiple Democrats across the country who had the character and integrity to demand that these three of their fellow Democrats resign office because this is outrageous. Including the President of the United States called for these 3 Democrats to resign. Governor Newsom of California, silent. Because he's a coward. This is easy. This is easy. I don't care right, left, center, MAGA, or progressive. This is blatant racism against a child in a process of political corruption on redistricting. They hit all 3 you got to go marks. The 2 men still refusing to resign. Martinez did resign. All the other members of the city council, Democrats, demanded their resignation. Multiple people all across the racial demographic in LA. Mostly Democrats, I would imagine, because it's such a heavily Democrat city, LA. Latino, black, white, Asian, all protested. They won't even let the city council sit for a meeting. They just go in there and they scream and yell and protest because they're not going to let the city council do its business until these 3 people resign, as they should.
Good.
Kudos to the people of Los Angeles. You want to be the capital of wokeism and political correctness, and that's what really LA is. You got to stand by your values. Mm-hmm. And this has always been my critique of the Democratic Party, Alyssa. It's not the rank and file Democrats. They're true believers. They believe in it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's the leaders like Nuri Martinez, Kevin De Leon, and this council member Cedillo, who once they get power, they turn into these elitist, corrupt, narcissistic, terrible examples of humanity. And it's not about defending the working class or working for the people. It's about their own power and control. That's all this ever was. Mm-hmm. So I don't want this to be a Democratic bashing session. This should be a bashing session on these 3 individuals. And kudos to the many Democrats who have come out and criticized and demanded the resignation of these 3 people. Shame on the Democratic leaders, Gavin Newsom, who have been silent on this issue. Let's go to ABC 7 out of Los Angeles. This was released on October 9th. So kind of as this controversy was going down, let's watch this clip from ABC 7 News from LA.
Controversy exploding in LA City Hall tonight. City Council President Nuri Martinez under fire after leaked audio shows her making racist remarks about Councilman Mike Bonin's son. The district attorney and others joined in. Hello and thank you for joining us. I'm Jory Rand.
And I'm Christiane Cordero. This is Eyewitness News at 6 on ABC 7, Hulu, and wherever you stream. Council members Kevin De Leon and Gil Cedillo also said racist comments in that bombshell audio leak.
We are now hearing from several city leaders. Eyewitness News reporter Leanne Suter is live outside downtown City Hall tonight with more. Leanne.
Calls for the resignation of the council president growing stronger and louder as this controversy shakes up City Hall. LA City Council President Nuri Martinez under fire for racist slurs she made about Councilman Mike Bonin's young son, who is black. The remarks were recorded and posted online by Knock LA.
The kid is bouncing off the effing walls on the floor, practically tipping it over. There's nothing you can do to control him. I was like, this kid needs a beat down. Like, let me take him around the corner and then I'll bring him back.
Martinez apologizing in a statement.
What ABC 7 neglected to show you there, and for those of you watching on YouTube, what was blurred out in Spanish, she called a little black boy a monkey. And that is about as mild as the racism got.
Statement saying, quote, in a moment of intense frustration and anger, I let the situation get the best of me, and I hold myself accountable for these comments. For that, I am sorry. The comments coming during a meeting with council members Kevin De Leon and Gil Cedillo and the president of LA County Federation of Labor, the group discussing the politically sensitive process of redrawing council district boundaries.
I get what we have to do, right? Just massage to create districts that benefit you all, right, and the future.
In the leaked audio, De Leon also criticizing Bonin himself. In a statement, De Leon also apologizing, saying, quote, there were comments made in the context of this meeting that were wholly inappropriate, and I regret appearing to condone and even contribute to certain insensitive comments made about a colleague and his family in private. I've reached out to that colleague personally. On that day, I fell short of the expectations we set for our leaders, and I will hold myself to a higher standard.
Really, Kevin? Really? I mean, he acts like he is like an accessory, like he was just in the room when the murder happened. He was laughing and contributing to Nuri Martinez's racial slurs against an innocent little boy. Black, brown, white, green, orange, I don't care. This is a goddamn child. And you want to sit there. This is easy for me. Anybody around me makes those comments, I immediately jump up and say, shut your fucking mouth. Who the hell do you think you are? Not to mention they were in there colluding with the Labor Fed, one of the most powerful unions groups in California. What is this? New York? Chicago? What the hell's going on here? You're colluding to, in a corrupt manner, to affect redistricting maps for your city council. Because, and this is what it's really about, Alyssa, and if you read if you listen, you can find it on YouTube. If you listen to the entire leaked audio, what this really is about is taking away representative power from black people in LA. That's what they're talking about here. So not only are you being racist to a little black kid, racist to his white parents, you're being racist because you're trying to dominate Latino power over black power in LA. That's what it's about. And it's not even about taking care of Latinos. It's just they're the Latino members of the council and they're trying to coalesce power around them. It's disgusting.
Bonin taking to social media, saying he's hurt that one of his son's earliest encounters with overt racism comes from some of the most powerful public officials in L.A. His statement reading in part, quote, "We are appalled, angry, and absolutely disgusted that Nury Martinez attacked our son with horrific racist slurs and talked about her desire to physically harm him. It's vile, abhorrent, and utterly disgraceful."
That being said, she said terrible things, but how many moms, especially around here, Alyssa, have you ever heard, "I'm going to take that kid around the corner and give him a whoop"? Mm-hmm. Okay, that part doesn't bother me so much. You shouldn't say that about another person's kid, but if that's all she said, I'd be like, okay, whatever. Okay, I mean that's something. I've heard from my white, black. I mean I've heard it all. Parents are going to say things, but you shouldn't have said that. But if that's all you said, not a problem. Not a problem. It's the racism and the corruption. That's the problem.
Graceful. The city council needs to remove her as council president immediately, and she needs to resign from office.
Mayor Eric Garcetti says he is disappointed by those racist remarks and says anti-blackness has no place in Los Angeles. Several community activists scheduled to hold a press conference tomorrow demanding that Martinez resign her post.
Hello, I'm Mark Martinez under.
Let's go to another clip. This is the first. This came out 2 days later on the first city council meeting since the leak happened. And I want to praise here, Alyssa. I do want to praise how many Latino groups, how many Latino people are in the city hall, in the council chambers, demanding that their Latino representatives resign because it's right and wrong. You're talking to somebody that has done 5 recall elections. I'm a Republican political operative, and I've recalled 5 Republican members from office because their party at that time didn't matter. There's right, wrong, there's just and fair, and these 5 Republicans that I have helped recall in my career all deserve to be removed from office for corruption. Like it's not about party to me. Follow the damn rules. You're not special. And we see this all the time in Washington, Alyssa, in Sacramento, and right here, even in city councils, where this is not England. This is not Europe. We don't have lords and counts and dukes and duchesses and earls and all that bullshit. Okay? We don't have lords and ladies. Okay? We fought 2 wars so we wouldn't have that kind of crap. Elected officials often forget who the hell they work for.
Yep.
They've become celebrities, and that's terrible. That's not what it should be. The bosses are these people demanding the resignation of these people, and they should listen. They ought to listen. They ought to be listening. And it's a damn shame. Now, Nury Martinez has resigned both her council presidency and her city council position, so she has done the honorable thing after being terribly dishonorable.
Good.
And she's left, but the 2 other council members refusing to resign. It's disgusting.
And Nury Martinez, she stepped down as council president yesterday. City leaders and the public said that wasn't enough. Today, she took a leave of absence. The consensus, that's still not enough. The calls continue for Nury Martinez, Gil Cedillo, Kevin DeLeon.
I just want to say, her original statement when she stepped down for president, but not her seat, she said, I need to take time to step back and reflect. You're not going into rehab. It's not racist. You didn't do drugs, okay? This isn't like a mistake, like you're sick. You're legitimately a terrible person. Mm-hmm. If you would attack a child, if you would demean a child over your attempt to politically screw one of your fellow Democratic colleagues on the LA City Council, over race control of LA, by the way, if that's where you're at as a person, you don't need rehab. You don't need to be in elected office ever again anywhere. School board, dog catcher, city council, or anything higher. Go away. If that's where your mindset, right, left, or center. Right, left, or center. I don't care if you have R to D next to your name. If this is the way you think as a human being, you have no right leading anything in this country.
To resign. Anger over what was said by 3 Los Angeles City Council members, including the now former council president, on that released audio recording spilled over into the council chamber Tuesday. Made worse, according to attendees and other council members, that Gil Cedillo,
wouldn't let him
Martinez,
do any
and
business.
Kevin
They just yelled the whole
DeLeon
time.
haven't
Love
resigned.
it.
These 4 individuals have possibly damaged the decades of intentional and difficult work of building multiracial understanding and solidarity among Black and Latinx communities.
This guy's online.
We've been trusting you, and you've been breaking our trust, and we cannot keep having this happen.
At one point, Cedillo and DeLeon took their seats in the council chamber, but the public in attendance would not come to order, even though Councilman Mitch O'Farrell tried. Things got louder, tense, and minutes later, Cedillo and DeLeon left the room not to be seen again. Bringing the council chamber under control, an emotional speech from Councilmember Mike Bonin, whose family has found themselves at the center of this scandal,
Dude
but
cried through the
not
whole speech.
because they did anything, rather because of the racist remarks said about
He's a
their
father.
young Black son.
On these tapes, I have heard the worst of what Los Angeles is. From you, I am hearing and I'm seeing what the best of Los Angeles is.
Not at the meeting, Nuri Martinez, who issued another statement saying, "This has been one of the most difficult times of my life, and I recognize this is entirely of my own making. At this moment, I need to take a leave of absence and take some time to have an honest and heartfelt conversation with my family, my constituents, and community leaders." The council members in attendance agreed all 3 must resign in order for the city to heal.
You deserved better. We deserve better. The people of Los Angeles deserve better. The court of public opinion has rendered a verdict, and the verdict is they all must resign.
He ain't lying.
Nope.
This is Democrat on Democrat warfare here. There's not a Republican up there demanding these Democrats resign. And you know what? You could hear the anger of the speakers up there. A white person, a Black person, a Latino person. All 3 of the hundreds of people that spoke. But my point being is, I understand why the citizens of LA are pissed. Because they've set a very high standard for political correctness and the way we should be doing things. Mm-hmm. And I do believe LA has come a long way, with still a long way to go, in racial inclusivity and racial diversity. This was a step back, and I think the people of LA are embarrassed. And they should be, and they should be upset. I'm going to tell you right now, these 2 guys don't resign. The people of LA should recall them from office. You don't want to resign, then we'll force you out. Mm-hmm. Go ahead and cost the taxpayers of LA even more money out of your hubris and your arrogance. Kevin DeLeon finally spoke just the other day. This was yesterday, a news report from Fox 11 from LA. Kevin DeLeon did a Hispanic broadcast interview where, I mean, it was so hard to watch and listen to when I watched the whole thing. This dude isn't contrite. He doesn't care about anything but himself and holding on to power. Oh, I'm a father and I know all the... He keeps acting like he was an accessory. Sir, Mr. DeLeon, you are a direct contributor of the crimes committed here.
There is a 24-hour encampment and protest in Kevin De Leon's Eagle Rock neighborhood, but despite calls from community members, other council members, and even the President of the United States, Kevin De Leon has said he will not resign.
We just heard that KDL said he will not resign.
In Eagle Rock, outside of LA City Council member Kevin De Leon's home, a large rally and 24-hour encampment calling for De Leon's resignation is still standing. But Wednesday, De Leon said he will not resign following the racism scandal that rocked City Hall.
Y por eso sigo.
In an interview with Univision, De Leon said he plans to continue serving, offering an apology to all of the communities he hurt by his words, and saying he has more work to do in his district on many issues.
It's disgusting and extremely disappointing, right? Thousands and thousands, if not millions, of Angelenos and folks across the country have been demanding his resignation all the way up to the President of the United States.
Some of his constituents and neighbors, like Darren Hall, are also disappointed.
He said in his statement that he had been reflecting with friends and family and staff, and I would suggest that he should have been reflecting with his constituents.
Hall believes De Leon cannot serve them.
He says that the district deserves representation, and he's right. We do deserve representation, and he can't represent us under these circumstances.
That gentleman's absolutely right.
Yep.
You there may be a lot of work to do in your district, sir, but you have lost the mandate and credibility to lead.
They don't want him.
I'm not going to repeat all the racist stuff that went on in this audio tape, which was more than an hour long. But the point that I'm trying to say here, they called this little boy a monkey. They said that they pretty much shamed the two dads because they're just raising him to be a white kid. These are the mild side of the racism.
Wow.
And then, probably, in my opinion, one of the worst district attorneys on the planet, Garcon from LA, who's the Latino, very progressive DA. Okay, there's been a couple failed recall attempts on him already. These other Latino people are pissed at him because, and I quote from Nuri Martinez from that audio tape, "F him, he's with the blacks." End quote. That's a quote. I'm just quoting that audio tape.
Wow.
This is the mindset of these people. It's terrible.
It's embarrassing.
This is the Democratic Party, the party of inclusivity and all this stuff, of tolerance. Stop it.
The party of putting up good fronts.
Right. But see, it's about power.
It's on both sides. Yeah.
Right, yeah, but it's about power. These people may have good intentions when, in De Leon's case, he's been demoted because he failed to win an election to the Senate and other places. So he's stuck being a city council member now. But these other folks, they probably had good intentions when they ran for council, and then they got in there and they got all, because it's a big city. It's, being a council member in a big city it's different than being, like I was, a council member in Waterford of 8,000. These guys have millions of people that they're representing, and it's an important job. But they get in there and they get the prestige and the D-list celebrityism and the entitlement, and the narcissism seeps in, and then it becomes about power and corruption and control.
Yeah. Imagine how much worse it would be if they're in like assembly or anything higher.
Yeah, I mean it's a bad look. It's a bad look for California, a bad look for LA. But regardless of the partisan letter, D or R, next to these three council members' names, just resign. You must resign. If you have a shred of honor and integrity left, which clearly you don't, you would resign and let the city move on. But no, because this is how arrogant, egotistical, narcissistic, and sociopathic these two gentlemen are. And that's the Grunt's perspective this week. What say you, Alyssa?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's quite literally the consequences of your actions. You're voted in by the public, and yet you think you're better than the public. It's embarrassing, and I don't know how these people get elected, and it happens all of the time.
I don't want to do it because I've done a lot of crying about how Republicans are treated versus Democrats treated in scandals like this, and especially by the media. I think the local media has done a great job covering it. National media, but the local media has done a good job covering it. And to CNN's credit, they've covered it as well. And clearly Democrats are trying to hold their own accountable. Okay? Not enough. But when the president of the United States, the leader of the Democratic Party nationally, calls for resignation, I'm going to give credit where credit's due. We call balls and strikes fair. But my gosh, like, we're in politics. I get in arguments with people every day. I get pissed. I have moments of extreme frustration and anger. Not one time, however, I've gone, well, that person, because of where they came from or their skin color and they're raising the kids to be, that has never once come up. I may be like, these people are morons. They're idiots. I can't stand their policy positions. They're further going to drive our state into the goddamn ground. But see, those are debates and disagreements on the policy and the issues themselves.
Yeah.
Not the individual.
Yep.
But throw all that shit out. How the hell can you do this to a little boy? An innocent child. And you know what? Children are going to be children. And parents are going to raise their kids differently. Now, I'm venturing a guess. I have no idea, but these are two gay gentlemen who are married, who adopted this kid. An honorable thing to do. Giving this kid a better life than I assume where he came from, because he was adopted. So better to have parents than not have parents, I would think. And then you're going to chastise the way they're raising. They're like, shut up. Who the hell do you think you are? Stop it. Mind your own business. And you know what? Here's an idea. How about not be racist? I don't know. It doesn't seem hard to me. Why do you think people are this way?
They're entitled. I mean, like, it kind of sounds like, not to get, like, too deep, but it sounds like from their childhood, like, you have no consequences, you think you get away with everything, and then you grow up realizing you have no consequences for your actions, and then you do things like this. You're never held accountable.
But I do think that it's a little bit of like a racial superiority thing with these elected leaders who got caught up in this.
Imagine what they've said that was not recorded. This could not have been the first time.
Oh, and it was so casual. Like, you could tell this wasn't an isolated conversation.
No.
This is these people's worldview. And that's why they got to resign. So kudos to LA to demanding them resign. Shame on Cedillo and De Leon for not resigning. You're cowards. You're feckless cowards. You don't deserve to be in office. And if you don't resign, I hope beyond hope that the voters of Los Angeles throw your ass out of office early. You deserve it. You deserve a lot more, but we'll leave it at that. Let's go to the three-pointer segment. This is the segment of the show where I answer your questions. You can write into us at electrecon, elect singular, electrecon@gmail.com. Go to electionrecon.com and to the Contact Us page. You can DM us or add us at social media. That's Election Recon, at Election Recon. That's Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And, of course, as always, you can get us in the YouTube comments. Note that we had issues uploading last week's episode. It just got uploaded today, so you have a twofer on the YouTube today. But the podcast did go out, and you can find our podcast anywhere you can find podcasts: Twitch, iHeart, Apple, Google Play, Amazon Music, wherever, Spotify. So without further ado, Alyssa, go ahead and hit me up with the first question. Bring the hate.
This one is from Michelle V., Tacoma, Washington. She said, for 3 weeks, all of you have posted is flips for the Republicans. It's all Republican, this and that. You call yourself not biased. Yeah, right.
Michelle? Yeah, I mean, listen, we've gotten a lot of that, Michelle. You're one of hundreds who have written in and accused us of being, like some Republican cult follower or whatever. And I understand why, the partisan zealots on the left believe that of us right now. It's been a lot of good news the last 3-4 weeks for Republicans in our model and on our shows. But remember when this thing got kicked off this year? There's a lot of good news for Democrats, wasn't there? Because we got started in the beginning of the summer. We had the same accusations from Republicans. We'll say it, Michelle, time in and time out. If we're wrong, please come back and kick us in the ass. We have thick skin. We'll take it. We'll own it if we're wrong. Again, our model's been right in 2020. It was right in 21. We're growing in confidence about it being right in 2022. And whether you want to believe it or not, the Republicans have all the momentum right now. That's just a fact. The Senate is still virtually a toss-up. Maybe we believe there's a slight advantage to Republicans, but understand the statistics, understand the math here. 60-40 is not a be-all, end-all thing. 40% can hit quite a bit, almost half the time. So the Senate's still very, very close, but we don't think the House is close. And, of course, the governors are really out of reach, the majority of governors. It's going to be a Republican majority in the House and for governorships and in state legislatures. That's just fact. The last really undecided battleground for control or majority control is going to be the Senate. And right now, everything's trending in the Republicans' favors. Next question.
You should know better. It's going to be 40 or more seats for the GOP in the House. It's going to be a red wave, baby. Get it together and quit listening to fakes like 538. From Ralph B., Phoenix, Arizona.
Well, Ralph, maybe. I mean, definitely I could buy into, like I said earlier in the show, I can start to buy into that red tsunami 40-seat thing. Let's see where our model ends up. Based on the way things are trending, our model could be at 30, 35. I don't think our model would get up to 40 seats for Republicans, but maybe. It's certainly not out of the realm of possibility. You may be right. There could be a much bigger submerged Republican vote than anybody is seeing here and the models are seeing and the polling is suggesting. I completely agree. This could be a much bigger night for Republicans than we think. But we think it's still going to be a pretty good night for Republicans. So, we'll take it as a grain of salt. Again, if we're wrong, just like I told the other lady from the first question, Ralph, go ahead and show back up here to the Oasis, sit down at the bar. We'll pull you a mea culpa free drink, and you can just have at us. But right now, that's where our model is. Definitely trending in the Republicans' favor. Next question.
A lot of you owe Robert Cayley and Trafalgar Group a major apology right about now. Hashtag NYGov from Will DeBungo, maybe, from Twitter.
You're right, Will from Twitter. I was kind of laughing. You remember a few shows back about this Trafalgar poll showing New York being within single digits, and then him coming out with another poll showing it being really kind of close, almost within the margin. And I really thought it was an outlier. I really did. And listen, Trafalgar is well respected here at Election Recon. They're in our top 5 polls that we have rated and studied. We have great respect for Trafalgar Group and their work. Yes, we hear from all you Democrats all the time. It's such a fake pollster, blah, 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 blah. Well, if Trafalgar Group's fake, what does that say about the real pollsters? That's all I got to say. Okay, my point is this. Mea culpa to Robert. I did say if he was right, I'd bow down to him. We still have to have an election to see if these polls are right, but many more pollsters now have come out and shown the race within single digits in New York. To put that in perspective, Alyssa, that would be like Gavin Newsom and Brian Dawley running for governor here in California being close. I mean, New York has almost the same Democrat dominance and registration as California. It's just such a Democratic stronghold. Again, for all you Democrats out there that just think we're being partisan here, I point out, look at the weakness everywhere for the Democratic Party right now. Washington State, not out of the realm of possibility. Republicans knock off Patty Murray there. A very strong incumbent in Democratic leadership. Oregon, not out of the realm of possibility that Republicans will have a governor in Oregon. Stacey Abrams, Beto O'Rourke, Georgia and Texas. 2 huge celebrity favorites of the Democratic Party. They have no chance of winning. They're not going to win. Stacey Abrams is probably going to go down by double digits, and so is Beto O'Rourke. There's just weakness everywhere. New Hampshire's not out of the bag. There's a Republican in the Rhode Island 2nd Congressional District, or 3rd, I forget that, Mr. Fung, the Republican candidate out of Rhode Island, winning. He's winning that seat. Okay? Like there are real weaknesses for the Democratic Party from coast to coast, border to border right now. The Democrats are on total defense. They're on their heels. Republicans are on the attack. They've expanded their target map. They're spending money. in places that is forcing the Democrats to further spend money to defend. And again, just follow the money. See where the parties are spending their money. Obviously, you have your handful of battleground seats where they're spending big, but there is a lot of money being spent on defense by the Democrats and offense by the Republicans. And you know what? Kudos to Trafalgar, because they were the first ones to show the weakness in New York. We didn't believe in it. We should have. We spoke too soon, and by we, because I can already feel Jeff and Lauren throwing things at me, I spoke too soon. And he appears to be right. And this race in New York looks a lot closer than we thought it was. And if there is, Alyssa, a submerged Republican vote that we're missing, boy, Lee Zeldin could knock off Kathy Hochul in New York. It is definitely possible. And 4 weeks ago, I was laughing about that possibility. So, yes, whoever that guy from Twitter is, I forgot your name already, but yes, you're right. I'm wrong. I was too quick to run my mouth, and I'm paying the price for it now. Kudos to Trafalgar and Robert Cayley. Great job. Great job. Please keep up the good work from your polling firm. Final thoughts?
Nope, I got them all out.
Basketball's starting.
Lord help us.
Lord help us. We coach basketball together. Social media and YouTube world. High school basketball. Okay, we're pretty good at it. We've got a lot of wins under our belt, you and I. So,
not me.
You got a lot of wins.
Not as a player, not as a coach.
We've only been coaching 1 year.
And I took 0 wins.
Your JV team had some issues, but we're a small town. That's the farm team. That's the farm team. Alyssa, that's Alyssa. I'm Josh. Again, please like, subscribe, share, do all the things that help spread the word about Election Recon. We are now under 20 days till Election Day. This has been episode 12 of the Election Recon podcast. We will see you next week.